How can you kill someone who is immortal? Do you fire 100 bullets at them, burn them at the stake for 3 days and nights, or hang them with a cross and rope? There is an even more sinister way to torture them. Lock the immortal in an iron coffin, seal it tight, and push it into the deep sea. This way they will drown and revive repeatedly, forever immersed in the agony of drowning. 500 years later, Andy formed an elite team of immortals dedicated to ending the world's injustices. However, no one's secret can stay hidden forever. There are always organizations trying to investigate Andy. One day, a former CIA agent named Copley found Andy and asked her team for help dealing with a group of terrorists. Not long ago, they hijacked a local school, killed the teachers, and kidnapped the children. The youngest girl was only 13. Andy's expression immediately became serious. At the same time, she noticed watchful eyes nearby. A sniper rifle was aimed at their seats, silently monitoring the group. After agreeing, Andy quickly left to avoid being noticed by the crowd. The agent waved to the sniper, who turned out to be a CIA colleague responsible for his safety. Soon, Andy and her teammates took a helicopter to the dangerous South Sudan. They are the elite of the elite, silently taking out the guards at the entrance and blowing up the bunkers to go deep into the enemy camp. But the place was empty. The teammates thought they had arrived too late. Suddenly, a hail of gunfire rained down, knocking the 4 of them over. Andy and her teammates were riddled with bullets and fell into pools of blood, but the terrorists could never have imagined that Andy and her team are all immortals. Soon after, the dead Andy revived. Taking advantage of the moment when the terrorists were most off guard, she launched a surprise attack and killed everyone. Joe was confused as to why he couldn't see the kidnapped girls. Andy walked slowly toward the camera installed on the wall and said angrily that there was no kidnapping or girls at all. Their greatest secret had been exposed by the CIA. Then, Andy smashed the camera with a shovel and led her teammates to escape. While hiding in a truck, Andy suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. All the immortals saw the same scene. In distant Afghanistan, Niall Freeman, a black female soldier serving in the US Army, was performing a mission to hunt down a bomber. In an Afghan monastery, they were tipped off by an old nun and broke into the small shack where the bomber was hiding. Freeman took the lead and subdued the bomber, but was accidentally slashed in the neck by a hidden knife. Normally, suffering such a fatal wound would mean Freeman was finished, but she woke up in the infirmary completely unharmed. She had become a member of the immortal race, and Andy and the others sensed her. Andy decided to leave for Afghanistan immediately. As immortals, they knew very well what kind of storm would be caused if this extraordinary ability was discovered, and how cruelly they would be treated. After Freeman's rebirth, all the female soldiers around her began to look at her with strange eyes. The scar on her neck healed at a speed beyond human comprehension. It was simply a miracle. Freeman was notified to go to headquarters for further examination, but before she could leave, she was intercepted by Andy. Andy knocked Freeman unconscious and took her into the truck. The group decided to find the CIA agent for revenge and delete their files. In the desert, Freeman woke up again, took the opportunity to open the tailgate and rolled out of the truck. Andy noticed and without hesitation, shot Freeman directly in the head. Freeman died, but in less than a minute, she was alive again. Freeman found it hard to accept the fact that she was immortal and turned to stab Andy in the heart. Although immortals won't die, they still feel pain. Andy briefly explained to Freeman that she was the same kind of person. If she wanted to know more, she had to come to the base because Andy is now the leader of this group of immortals. Freeman was skeptical, but she had nowhere else to go and had to listen to Andy. Andy and a teammate got on a plane and told Freeman that their 5-person team was going to Paris. Then she closed her eyes to rest. When Andy woke up, she found her hands tied. Freeman was still determined and pointed a gun at the pilot, demanding they land immediately because she had no desire to go to Paris. Andy understood her anxiety, so she reached over and shot the pilot herself. The plane began to fall rapidly. Freeman panicked and asked Andy what they would do if they crashed. Andy looked calm. In fact, as immortals, they had nothing to fear. Freeman had no choice but to untie Andy, and the two began to fight. By this time, the pilot had revived and regained control of the plane's flight path. Andy tested Freeman's skills while fighting. As the leader, she was very satisfied and felt the newcomer was to her liking. Then, Andy happily beat Freeman into a state of temporary injury, though of course the healing speed of an immortal is fast, and she was completely fine in a few seconds. Only now did Freeman accept her new identity. Andy took the newcomer to meet the other 3 teammates. The last time a newcomer appeared was 200 years ago. Booker had fought with Napoleon at that time. The other 2, Joe and Nicky, were soldiers from the Crusades. They happened to be from opposing camps but simply couldn't kill each other. Freeman was amazed and asked the big boss Andy a very sensitive question. Exactly how old is she? What nationality is Freeman? What era is she from? A woman never reveals her age, and Andy brushed the topic aside. Freeman then wondered if immortals really never die. Andy shook her head because they once had another companion. Immortals will one day suddenly find that they are no longer immortal, but no one knows exactly when that day will come. That night, Freeman had a nightmare. She dreamed of a woman locked in a coffin, sinking into the sea, struggling in a cycle of drowning. Her teammates explained that this woman was named Quinn, one of the earliest immortals. Just like Andy. After they found each other, they participated in wars between various tribes and even saved some British women accused of being witches. But because they couldn't die, the people they helped turned on them, accusing them of practicing witchcraft. Neither small traps nor burning at the stake could stop Quinn and Andy. Fearing their power, the people locked Quinn in an iron coffin and used a cross to push it into the depths of the ocean. Quinn was drowned over and over again, only to be resurrected and drowned again, spending 500 years in endless torture. By the time Andy could have saved her from the sea, Quinn had already gone mad until her life force completely vanished. What immortals fear most is that once their secret is discovered, human fear will strip them of their freedom. This is human nature. Humans naturally want to cage anything powerful. Freeman was devastated. She couldn't imagine anyone living such a life. Andy looked at her seriously and said that the only person an immortal can trust is another immortal. Suddenly, gunfire erupted all around. Andy and Freeman immediately went on high alert. Andy hid above the church at their hideout and killed the intruders with surgical precision, stabbing one right in the heart. She is a total war machine, having killed more people than she has had meals. But they were still a step too late. Two of their immortal teammates had already been captured, and the remaining one, Booker, was on the verge of death. Andy knew the CIA was hunting them, so she took Freeman to an abandoned mine. This was a secret base Andy had discovered in the 12th century, and it was filled with gear. The teammates' information had been sold out by a CIA agent to a pharmaceutical company. Seeing a future of Nobel Prizes and endless money in the Immortals, the company took them to a lab. The Immortals were subjected to inhumane vivisection by scientists, who extracted countless blood and tissue samples. Needles longer than a human arm were thrust directly into their bodies, but no one cared. From the moment they became immortal, they were destined to be lonely. Their loved ones would grow old, get sick, and die, while the immortals lived on. Booker once had a brother suffering from cancer. At the end of his life, the brother begged Booker to tell him the secret of immortality. Booker didn't agree because he didn't even know the reason himself. In the end, his brother grew to resent him, leaving Booker scarred. He believed that from the moment of immortality, one should not have connections with the world, or the pain would only be doubled. Freeman was lost in thought after hearing this, but having been an immortal for such a short time, she wasn't ready to join the rescue mission and left first. However, Freeman soon discovered a shocking secret. The bullets in Andy's gun had been swapped. This person could be no one else but their teammate, Booker. Sure enough, as soon as Andy walked through the door, she realized she had been set up. Booker pinned her from behind. Andy was devastated and demanded to know why. Booker was silent. His reason for betraying Andy was simple. He hoped that by discovering the secret of immortality, he could save more people like his brother. At that moment, Booker was shocked to see that Andy's wound was still bleeding. It turned out that Andy had lost her immortality just recently. The pharmaceutical company's scientist was furious and knocked Andy out, throwing her into the lab. Freeman arrived, found the CIA agent, and after learning Andy's location, quickly gathered weapons and headed to the lab. The agent had his own struggles. His wife had ALS, and he was forced to cooperate with the company for her health. But the agent didn't realize the company was so heartless, so he used his VIP access to open the door for Freeman. Freeman pretended to be an ordinary person, but took the chance to play dead and kill the guards. She took hits and kept reviving, using the glitch to enter the lab and free her 3 teammates. From the agent, Freeman learned that Andy had been fighting for human peace for over 1,000 years. She decided to carry out Andy's will. The Immortal Squad combined is virtually invincible. Facing about 20 cannon fodder guards sent by the lab, they charged through the bullets. Even though Andy no longer had her immortality, her combat instincts were sharper than anyone else's. They finally broke through the perimeter, and as the company set off a smokescreen, Andy used an axe to carve a path out. The boss is always this fierce. Her fighting and marksmanship are far beyond any ordinary person. They fought all the way to the scientist's office. Freeman grabbed the villain and jumped out of the building. Being immortal, she was fine, while the scientist was crushed. Finally, the team left safely, beginning their next journey to save world peace.